All right, and we are live. The Pistons won a game, but before we get to that, and before I get to my special guest, I just want to reiterate to everyone, Fan Reacts, this is a show for you guys. If you want to come up and join, please send me a DM now on Instagram or Twitter. All I have to do is just send you a link, and all you need is your phone or a computer, and you can join. So please, I've got a couple of guests lined up tonight, but we're going to go for as long as the show goes with how many people want to come on. So if you want to come on, please DM me now and I'll try get you up. But I've got my man Cody here, and we were DMing throughout the game, my bro. But how are you feeling? I should just say the Pistons won by I think 10 points in the end in Philadelphia, 105-95. But turning it over to
Yep.
you.
I mean, it's hard not to feel good, right? Like this is a game they should win, and they did. So, I mean, that's what you have to take out of this. You have to be proud of this team for, being 0-4, really tough stretch to start the season, and then getting a win against, a team that was decimated with injuries that really didn't have enough firepower if the Pistons played well to beat them. Hard not to be excited. They did what they were supposed to, which you can argue in the first four games they weren't supposed to win any. Obviously, we know how we feel about that. We broke them all down. They should have won arguably two of those games, but this one they should have won and they did. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to just summarize it. And I think I just want to, before we get into talking about players, and because I'm sure we're excited, we're happy to get a win. Like, yes, Philadelphia didn't have their two best players. I just want to acknowledge this, that Cody and I are very aware, or like that this Philadelphia team is not full strength, and we're not going to be saying the Pistons are winning the championship or making the playoffs now. Like, we are very aware of the competition, but like you just outlined beautifully, they did what they were supposed to do. And in the games before that, they probably weren't expected to win and they didn't. But tonight they win. And I thought it was a pretty convincing win after, like I know throughout the game, man, you were messaging them like, oh my God, like they're going to blow it. But I think if you weren't a Pistons fan that has the PTSD we do, you probably say the Pistons won that convincingly.
Yeah, because I mean, in all reality, once they took that like 10 point lead, they never looked back. So I mean, like, yes, to your point, if a Cavs fan was clicking that game on in the second quarter because their game just ended, I mean, they'd be a sicko because there were better NBA games on at the same time. But if they did, they'd be like, okay, yeah, the Pistons dominated from the 4 minute mark of the second quarter, basically all the way through the rest of the game. So yeah, I mean, it was very convincing. Not quite cover to cover because that first quarter was really bad, but
Yeah.
a good, I'd say a good solid 2.5 quarter performance. I mean, then obviously you look at the score, you see they won by 10, but it was all garbage time. Just
Yeah.
nobody's trying out there. Pistons are dribbling out the clock, stuff like that. They're not trying to run up the score, um, which I think honestly is, I think that's a good move by them. Like I like a team that's respectful and winning, and I think that they showed a lot of class out there tonight because they haven't won much. So like you would think young players like that would be like, oh, let's beat them by 30.
Yeah.
Let's really rub it in. I think that says a lot about JB and the kind of mindset he is instilling in these players to like be respectful on the court and obviously try to win and win as many games as you can, but do it with class and dignity and respect. And I think
Yeah.
I think that's a good sign for a team full of young players who haven't won and haven't got the opportunity to quote unquote stunt on people or whatever you want to say.
Yeah. No, for sure. I agree with all of that. I think let's just get into some players here. I think I want to start with Jaden Ivey. I thought I kind of thought Stu deserved the game ball, but I thought Jaden Ivey's play in that third quarter. I thought he was electric. I think he finished with 23 points, over 50% from the field once again, I believe. Hit some crucial threes. How nice is it just to see Cade dish it to his shooting guard and them knocking down threes? Like, um, I just thought he had like three huge dunks. Like I don't think the box score maybe does it justice. I just thought he kind of his energy, his strength just shone through. Like I was so impressed by him.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden's really coming into his own. He really is becoming a legit second option on this team. And, obviously, okay, Kyle. But obviously, you know, I'm not going to push it too far and say he's a legit second option on a really good team or something like that, because obviously the Pistons aren't. But I think just becoming a really good running mate for Cade and being really reliable is a huge thing for this team. Because if these if these two continue to play they have for most of the games, I mean, Jaden had that stinker in Miami, which he's going to have some games where he doesn't play the best. But if these two continue to play like the way they are, and you just get a little more from Tobias and a little more from Malik, and some of these other guys start coming into their own, like Fontecchio, I think this team can win, a fair amount of games. Nothing crazy, obviously. Before the season, I said they'd be around 30. I still believe they can be around 30. But I think Jaden, we're really impressed about Jaden tonight, and I tweeted it. I actually was so excited that I didn't even tweet the correct thing I wanted to say. I was just typing, and I reread my tweet, and I was like, that makes no sense. Dude, he was for a stretch there, he was clamping Maxi, clamping him, like all over him, in his face, everywhere. Great movement, like the the on-ball defense was, yeah, okay, Kyle. Again, we're taking it steps at a time. I said he locked down Tyrese. I didn't say he was great on switches and off ball or anything like that. But yeah, I think that when he was on Tyrese Maxey in that third quarter, that was almost more of a difference than his offense was, because you could tell Tyrese was frustrated. He couldn't get to his spots. He couldn't get good looks. He was missing really tough jumpers. And I mean that, like, Tyrese is a guy I think that flows off his offense and that allows his entire game to get better. I mean, Tyrese isn't a great defender. He's just too small in most cases, but his offense really, I think, allows him to lock in more on that end. And I think that Jaden kind of took him out of that third quarter.
Yeah. No, it's a great point, and I just thought like how it was just so encouraging, like you saw, because Tyrese Maxey was like, I think at halftime, like he was cooking, and he still had like a pretty good game, but like he was just the one player that he just like he's so good, man. Like he's so shifty, so like the step back, the mid range, like just the way he's able to draw fouls. Like he is a nightmare to defend, and like in the first half, he was giving the Pistons perimeter defenders like fits. Like it was tough. But to see Ivy then, like you outlined in the third quarter, like really pick it up defensively and put together a really good two-way quarter or second half was so exciting. And I think what you mentioned there as well about just having that consistent second option or running mate alongside Cade is so huge, because like last season, they didn't have that. Like, and we kind of thought Tobias was going to be more consistent early on this season, and he hasn't been. But you can just see, like, Cade kind of didn't. I'm not going to say he was bad in the fourth quarter, but he didn't really. I don't think he scored. He might have got a couple of points. Like, he had kind of given it his best shot before, and his fourth quarters are another conversation. But just to have like that second running mate and Jaden be able to create a little bit, it just helps so much. So. Is there any other Jaden Ivey thoughts? Because I want to get to another guy next who I thought was gets the game
I
ball.
mean, yeah, I mean, just the shooting's excellent, and I think maybe Kelser mentioned it on the broadcast about how Jaden, I think his first couple of years was all go all the time. Um, like that's where I think he's matured a lot, is that he hasn't gotten to the point, or he's gotten to the point, I should say, where he is consistently picking his spots and choosing when to explode. Kind of like, what Russ got really good at in his prime when he wasn't just all downhill all the time. He kind of chooses when to explode and pick his spots. And I think once Ivy, he's not quite there yet, but once he gets it all the way down, like there was a play where he just slammed into the Sixers backup center, and Kelser's like, jump stop, straight up, easy jumper. Like once he figures it completely out, he's going to be really dangerous, Because if he gets that to the point where he can go downhill really fast, take a jump stop, kick it out, or take that little 10-foot jumper, I mean, he's going to be he could be like, obviously with Cade it's tough because Cade's going to have a lot of usage and stuff. He could be a consistent 22 a night, 23 a night type guy because he just is that talented. He really is.
For sure. And I'm going to check the free throw numbers tonight, but I feel like he only took 2 tonight.
He missed one, right? 1 or 2.
It says 2 of 2, but I swear he missed one. But
I thought he missed one too, and I thought he missed one, and then Stu got the offensive rebound and kicked it back to Jaden, and he made a layup.
Yeah. Anyway, like I feel like he's figuring out the free throw line as well. Like even if he didn't get there a whole heap tonight. But yeah, that play you mentioned that Kelso broke down where he got the charge on I think it's Yabasali.
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name, so it's high.
Yeah. But that was a really like a great point from Greg, and yeah, it's good to bring it up because if he figures that out, like, yeah, he can make plays all 3 levels consistently. I want to talk about Isaiah Stewart. I've got my Stu jersey on. You probably can't see the number, but I think we've spoken a little bit about him so far, Cody, throughout the 3 or 4 streams we've done, and just kind of the disappointment he's had he's been offensively, but I think the defense has clearly been good from the jump. And then tonight is kind of his energy. I thought, like, I'm not going to say it won them the game, but I thought he was right up there with the reason they won. Like the energy, like the rebounding, 3 block shots. I think he had 3 assists. Yes, he fumbled a couple of passes, but I thought he actually caught some tough ones, which I don't usually see him catch. So I thought his energy was crucial. Jalen Duren fouled out. I think he played 10 minutes. So Stu played the full 37, 38. And I know there's no Joel Embiid and he's just going against Andre Drummond, but, I thought he was key. He was right up there with Ivy for me in terms of impact.
I mean, he was dynamite tonight. I mean, the thing about Stu that, is why I've been harping so hard on Jalen Duren. Stu's motor is nonstop, relentless. Yeah. He's always, whether you like him or not, he's always giving 110%, and you can't even come close to saying the same about Jalen Duren. He is not often giving 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, Stu, like, man, his switchability tonight was just unbelievable. Like you would think Tyrese Maxey gets a switch, it's automatic advantage. Sure, he made buckets on Stu, but it wasn't like every time he got Stu on him, he cooked him. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Stu made him take tough shots. Stu did a lot of what like I was talking about with Jared Allen doing to Cade. Like he was switching on to Cade late in the shot clock and staying with Cade, making him take tough shots. Guys like Cade, guys like Maxey, they're going to make tough shots. There's a reason why Tyrese Maxey scores 31.5 points a game. Like he's going to make tough shots. But the fact that Stu's forcing him into them consistently, I mean, it really mattered. And I mean, his rim protection is just so much better than Duran's. It's not even close. Rim protection for his size is elite. It really is elite. Like there's going to be guys that just beat him because they're bigger. Like, hey, is what it is. But like tonight was a reasonably favorable matchup for him with Drummond, who's not as springy and as athletic as he was in his prime, and then a backup center that's relatively the same size as him. I mean, he feasted. He was everywhere, deterring shots and layups at the rim. I mean, I'm going there right now, and
I was hoping you were going to keep it all positive, but I love it.
Maybe Pistons fans won't like to hear this yet, but Stu should start next game against the Knicks. He should.
Yeah. I think even matchup wise, trying to defend Cat makes a bit more sense. But that's been the thing for me. Like I made a video on it yesterday. Like defensively, it's not even close. Isaiah Stewart's the best defensive option they have. He's their best defender right now without Asar. It's probably not even close, to be honest. And when he can just catch, I know he didn't shoot any threes tonight, but when he can catch, finish a little bit, knock down his free throws, man, the team just, I think someone put a comment here saying, Something about, oh, here we go. Not a big shock when Jalen Duren fouls out in 11 minutes. Stu gets his minutes. We play significantly better. And it's a shame that that's where we're at this early in the season, but it's kind of a huge talking point, I feel like. And it was a key reason they won tonight. And yeah, I don't probably think that will happen. I think they're still going to keep putting faith into JD for at least another few games. But like, yeah, if they lost tonight and Stu still played the way he did and JD had that game, then maybe. But yeah, it's definitely a fair call from you. And because Stu's
Well,
outplayed Duran without any offense.
well, and that's the thing. It's not like Duren is giving you 18 to 20 points a night, like catching lobs and
Yeah,
finishing at the rim. He's averaging after tonight. He's averaging less than 10 points a game. It's not like he's giving you this incredible offensive output.
yeah,
Yes, he's shooting 86% from the field. Like, I get it. He scores on dunks exclusively, so his field goal percentage should be high. But he's not giving you this giant offensive output. Like, if Stu does what he does and averages 6 points a night, it's not even close. The players aren't even close
yeah,
because until Duren develops like an automatic hook shot or like a go-to post move, and he's not just scoring on energy and lobs. The gap between them offensively, well, I get it because Duran's a better screener. He's better off the DHO. There are other advantages. He's a better playmaker, of course. But the gap between them defensively is much bigger than the gap between them offensively.
yeah.
So it's
That's a
like,
good way. Yeah, that's the best way to put it, I think, for sure. Like, yeah, it's not like defensively, like you just see it with the energy. I went through some numbers. We've gone through the on off numbers. Like they're actually quite alarming. And some people will be like, oh, well, Stu's going against backups, whatever. But yeah, if you watch, you see it. You see the energy. You see Stu, like just that relentless mode you talk about. It's kind
but
of
that's
infectious team.
but
Yeah.
that's the thing though. Like Stu was, we didn't talk about it after the Celtics game, but Stu was instrumental in that comeback against the Celtics. He did the same thing. He brought energy. He was a deterrent from the rim. He made it harder in passing lanes, things like that. And the Pistons just he brings a lift. He just brings a huge lift. Um,
Is this the lineup here you were talking about, or was it Fontecchio in for Tobias? Or maybe this was someone else. Been a few
yeah,
comments.
I didn't necessarily say that, but like that lineup, I don't hate. I
Yeah.
really, and honestly, I know he doesn't bring a lot defensively, but THJ is making threes. He's sniping. I don't hate THJ in the starting lineup. Malik Beasley and THJ are not dissimilar defenders. They're really not. I mean, they're neither of them are very good. So, like, ride the hotter hand. Both of them shot pretty well tonight. I think Malik Beasley was right around 40 or 50%. I think THJ might have been or THJ might have been above 50% from three.
Yeah,
Um,
so Tim Hardaway was 5 of 7 from deep, 16 points on the night, and then Beasley was 3 of 10. But I feel like he hit some
three
really
of
key ones.
10.
Yeah, but I feel like he hit some real key ones in the first half when they really needed it and they were struggling. So I think like THJ was more second half, but I thought Beasley in the first half made a couple really key
Maybe I was
ones.
just watching everybody else so intently, but I did not think he got up anywhere near 10 threes. I was going to say
It's
3 of 7.
yeah.
Ah, wow. I didn't think he got up that many. But yeah, I think I do like that lineup, and I think we should at least spend a little bit of time, unless you got more on Stu. I think we
Yeah.
should give I think we should give Tobias a little bit of flowers for tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're done with Stu. Sorry. Yep, go for it. We can go wherever you like.
No, I'm just saying I think obviously I was roasting him in your DMs, like very pissed off. I'm like I wanted to comment and say, dude, did the Monstars come back and take his powers? Like it felt like Space Jam to me. Like, wow, what happened to this guy? But I think he really get in the second half. He gave a ton of effort. I mean, obviously, he got a lot of easy ones, so I'm not so focused on the points. But he had 15 boards. He had 15 boards. He was on it on the glass. He he didn't force any shots in the second half, so he was just taking what the defense gave him. Nice little middies. A lot of layups. That nice poster where Cade went bananas. You know, I think that game might be the turning point for Tobias in this early season, where he's like, okay, I had a really good half. I can build on what I did. I can do those things again, and I can be an effective player for this team. I think we got to give Tobias flowers because I mean we've crapped all over him for 4 games in a row, so it's only fair that we give him some credit because I do think he was a non he was definitely a non nothing in this game. I think he was one of the top 4 factors of why they won this game.
Yeah, no, he's second half, like you said. I think he got out in transition, like you mentioned, that dunk, and then he hit like kind of a key mid-range shot in the fourth, like just to keep things going. I thought, yeah, he was good, and he's actually had a couple of really good rebounding games now. So we definitely need that from the four because, like, I feel like even in that first half, there was a couple of long rebounds that went back out for Philly threes. So, I agree, he deserves his flowers. Tough place to come in, like I don't know if you have League Pass or how you watch the games, but before the broadcast starts, the stream will start on League Pass, and you get a viewing of like the crowd. They were booing the Pistons like the moment they stepped onto the court. They booed him the entire game. So I think, like you said, for him to finish with 18-15, that'll get his confidence up. And I still don't think he hit a three, but
He
you know,
did.
you hope that with confidence that can come around. But
He
we're probably
can't be as bad as he is. He can't be as bad
no,
as he is from three the whole
he's not.
season. There's no way.
He's not. I refuse to believe this is the Tobias Harris they signed for 52 million. I refuse to.
Yeah.
give me
Yeah,
give
no,
me
I
20
can't.
games. Like I just But we've probably got another 4 to 5 minutes here, Cody, before I go to get the next person up. But we haven't spoken about Cade yet, but I want to turn it over to you. Like, what would you like to talk about? Main takeaways, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Cade was Cade. I mean, I think it was a very good Cade game. What I will say, Cade's off the dribble 3 point shooting, much improved this year. Like, much improved. He was better last year in the catch and shoot stuff, but him coming off the screens with with a nice one dribble, and then pulling up, he looks so much more smooth and so much more confident. And you can tell he's stepping into them and expecting to make them, which I don't think that he always has. So I think Cade just played another good Cade game. Um, I didn't want to spend too much time talking about Cade because I feel like every
Yeah.
game you could talk about Cade, right? So in terms of big takeaways, I think the major one is just like that must be just such a monkey off the back for this team.
Yeah.
Like they must just go into the locker room and feel so much better. Like they can breathe. Like they can
Yeah.
just do the season started now. Like we
Yeah.
had opportunities, we blew them. Whatever, we got to win. Let's bring some energy back to LCA. I still think the Knicks are not gelling extremely well. They're good. They're a really good team, but I think they are beatable. I don't necessarily think we will beat them, but they are beatable if the Pistons play a good brand of basketball and play more like they did in the second half, where they cleaned up the turnovers, they kept the ball moving, they made shots. The Knicks, like I said, any team can beat any team on any given night in the NBA. And I think this win will propel them into Friday with confidence to say, hey, why can't we beat these guys? Start a little mini streak. And then you get the Nets on Sunday. Who knows? Maybe the Pistons ride a little 3 game winning streak. And then they come into the start of next week with a lot more confidence and feeling like, hey, we can be a good team. We just have to put it together for 4 quarters. So I think that was my biggest takeaway. I think this will be a nice launching point for what I would say is like the new start of the season, like for
Yeah.
them mentally.
I think that's an awesome way to put it. Like the season started now. You had your chances, but just forget about those 4 games now. Like if there's one takeaway from that, it's that you can actually compete with these better teams in the regular season. But now you kind of, because I feel like Philly got it to within 10 maybe in that last quarter, and I think that's when we messaged each other being like, oh, here we go.
Yep,
But
yep.
I think even if they did have this sizable lead in the fourth, like it's still good just to close it out, get that monkey off the back, like you said, get that first win, and just know that, like, all right, that, like, I feel like that slams a door shut on last season almost, in a way. It's like we've got to win. Like, now let's go. Like, obviously the next game will be tough, but if you beat Brooklyn, who I don't know, that game might be, I think that's going to be a tough game no matter what. But you beat Brooklyn, you could be 2-4 playing the Lakers to start
Well,
next
two
week.
and two and 2 and 5,
Would it? Oh,
two
my
and
bad.
5. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that doesn't sound as good as 2-4. But I think just having 2 wins go against the Lakers, it's
Well,
not too
the,
bad.
the thing the
Considering
thing
the
is
schedule.
their first 10 games. I mean, I don't think their first 10 games are like. I think anybody, if you looked at the first 10 games, you would be like, realistically, 4-6 is the best I could see this team doing. They
Yeah.
steal a couple they shouldn't win. They beat a couple teams that they're right on the same level with. Like that's it. Like if they went 3-7 and then got into their part of their schedule where they play the Atlantas, the Charlottes, the Wizards of the world, like they could get back. They could get back to within like a 400 winning percentage, and be there maybe the rest of the season. You know what? Like my hope is they steal a couple more games in the rest of this 10 game stretch that they shouldn't. They're like 3-7, 4-6, and then they get a couple. They start playing more 500 ball in that stretch of games where they should win, and they're you know flirting with 500 at some point in the first half of the season. That would be a dream scenario, obviously, flirting with 500, going to the All Star break or something. But I think like if you can steal a couple from teams you shouldn't beat, you can really build on that and get into the softer part of your schedule and win some games.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, I should have someone else coming up in a minute, but I agree with you. I think 3-7, 4-6 after the first 10 games would be a tick for me in terms of just if they continue to play like this as well, like maybe one of the Knicks or Lakers might get a hold of them and that could be a blowout. But I think if they just keep playing the same way, same energy, the center position's a bit of a worry, but hopefully Stu
Yeah.
can keep this up. And yeah, man, yeah.
And I guess
I'm
I
just
guess the
stoked
nice
to get a
yeah,
win, just to get that
yeah.
win. It's huge.
And I guess the last thing I'll say is the nice part about this stretch is like there wasn't a game they weren't in. Yeah, they
Yeah.
folded a little bit against the Heat late. The Heat have so many veterans and guys who've done it and won. I get it. Like we don't have a lot of guys who've won on
Yeah.
our team, but like there's not been a game this season that they haven't had a chance to win. And I mean, even to this point, like last year, it was game 3 or 4 where they played the Trailblazers and they were up 15 or 16 at the half, and they quit in that second half. They got down 8 or something, and they folded up against the Blazers. So
Yeah.
like, I, I think this team is better and will be better than last year. Obviously, it's hard to be worse, but I think it'll be a marked step of like, hey, we won 26 or 27 games, and to anybody who would watch this that's not a Pistons fan would be like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But to us, I think we would take 27 wins
Yeah.
in a season where they competed hard.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I think I said 28 wins was my number on the season. And I know that's not probably what a lot of fans want, but I think with where this franchise is at and everything, that's I think you said what 30 wins was around your mark. So we're about the
Yeah,
same. So I think that's an ideal outcome and just remain competitive, like you said, be in all these games and yeah. Any
yeah,
other
man.
thoughts before I let you go? And make sure you tell the
Um,
people they can find you, all that thing.
yeah, man. Again, no fly zone. I didn't tweet as much tonight because I was just really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it was the first game in a really, really long time where I just got to sit back and watch the guys really look happy, and I was enjoying it. So I was like, I don't really care about Twitter at the moment. I just want to enjoy this because it's
Yeah.
it's not often where I just get to watch this team without a critical eye and just have fun. So I took
Yeah.
the opportunity to do that. But I'll be tweeting from there all season. I'll be coming up here a lot.
For
And yeah, I
sure,
mean,
man.
honestly, guys, like I say every stream, it's open. Jack's the man. Great conversationalist. We just have fun up here. I saw we got some new faces tonight. It seems like so. I'm excited to watch and see their takes as well.
You're the man, Cody. You know, I love having you up here. You're welcome after every single game, just like anyone else is. But I know the people love your thoughts. Go follow Cody on Twitter. And like he said, we're going to have him up here as much as he can be up here. So, man, have a good night, man. Glad to hear you enjoyed the game. Glad we got a win. But maybe you'll be back Friday. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, the calendar's clear, so we'll see.
Let's go, my friend. All right. Enjoy the win.
All right, you too, man.
All
Catch
right.
you
See you,
later.
brother. Bye.
Bye.
All right. We are bringing up my man here, Drew at Base Pistons. I've just before I do, I just want to reiterate, guys. Drew sent me a DM before the game, Base Pistons. We're just talking about the podcast, and I said, "Do you want to come up on the live stream?" He's just done it. He's about to come up. All I do is send you a StreamYard link. That's the live stream software I use. And you literally just click it, enter your name, and then I bring you on the stage. It's a 2-second process. You can do it on your phone, computer, or iPad, even whatever you have. Anything works. So, we're going to get through some of the comments here. I appreciate everyone in the chat. I've been trying to bring them up as we go, but I'm going to bring up Drew now. Drew, what's going on, my man?
We won. How else can I say it? It feels really good. It feels like I did something by them winning, because a lot of times I feel like when I watch the game, because this is what happened on Saturday, I turned off the Celtics game when the Pistons were behind. They catch up, and then it was like 3 minutes left, and they're tied. I put it back on, and suddenly they're about to lose. So I feel like it's something I did.
No, I know that feeling. There's nothing worse than when like you're watching a game on the box score on your phone and you might get home, then you turn it on. The Pistons might have had a lead, then you turn it on and it's just all bad. And you're like, why did I turn this on? Like I'm the bad luck here. So I know what
Yeah,
you mean when you say that.
yeah. I don't consider myself superstitious except for the Pistons. It's like the only thing that drives me nuts. And it wasn't like I didn't. I was holding my breath until 3 minutes left
Yeah.
in the game because I was waiting for the floor to fall out from under them. They have repeatedly not been able to close games, and it's funny because I don't know, Jack, if you could tell me. Besides, I think the Celtics game, I feel like most Pistons games, if not all, they went into halftime with the lead. Is that true?
Oh, maybe not the Cavs game, but like I feel like maybe the Cavs one was a bit closer. But yeah, I think you're pretty
Yeah.
close there.
So they've like blown a lot of leads this year, and that's a big part of like the new culture that they have to build is being able to close out quarters, close out games. It's going to be tough.
Absolutely, man. And just before we get into the game, could you just tell? I'm going to start doing this with new people who come up on the show. Just tell everyone why you're a Pistons fan, and how long you've been supporting the team, or what got you into the team.
Well, I'm a Pistons fan. I've always since I was a little kid, I was a Pistons fan. I guess I born and raised in Michigan, so metropolitan Detroit. So always was about the team. But I don't think I would became a really serious fan until after 2004. Like I was a fan in 2004, but I was a kid. I was about 13, and I don't think I really like I was supportive of it, but I was a fair weather fan. Like I don't I was supportive because they were good, but I it was more of when I got into high school when it was like the last few years of the I I guess I became more invested when they traded for Iverson. That's and then that's when because that's when I got really involved online. That's when like Pistons online spaces really blew up around 2009, and I think that's where I really became a big fan because of the online spaces of being able to express being a fan. But also, ironically, it's when some of the darkest times of being a Piston. So
It's so funny you say that because so many Pistons fans I talk to say like the Iverson trade is like the defining moment of when it's all gone downhill, and that's when you
it's
got into it.
It's funny because I was optimistic. I even have an Iverson Pistons T-shirt that says the answer in Pistons lettering that I got when I went to see like one of his first games as a Piston. I was excited about it because if you ask me in my memory, Billups was not that good in the series before when they lost. That was I think 2008 either conference finals. He was dealing with injuries, and though like it didn't, I could look back and I could say like, oh, it didn't make sense for a lot of reasons. Everyone sort of like at the time, all fans were at the time wanting some trade, and they wanted Ben was already gone. Is either going to get rid of Sheed, Rip, Tayshaun. People wanted something,
Yeah.
and I don't, and I don't know if it was going to happen anyway. It was something that was going to blow up, and I don't know if there was ever going to be a good trade. It just happened to be the worst trade possible, but I don't know if there was
Yeah.
ever good. I don't think there was a trade that would have saved that team.
Yeah. but that one probably made it worse somehow.
Yeah, I mean, that made it worse. I remember being excited about Ben Gordon, Charlie Villanueva signing. I've been optimistic about pretty much everything until a certain point where I became the very pessimistic, and now I'm pessimistic about most things of the Pistons. And even tonight, I think I could think of a few things where I'm like, oof, yeah, we won, but I have like some bad feelings or inklings of like things that I don't love.
Can I ask you then? So, because I think a lot of fans are like yourself, like they've been optimistic, and then what's happened in the past 3 to 4 seasons, or like in your case, you've been a
Yeah.
fan locked in since 2009. But I think the last few seasons have really soured a lot of fans and it's
Yeah.
taken away that optimism we all had. So,
It's
what were your expectations then for the team and for the people in the chat? We'll get to the game after this, but what
yeah.
were your
This
expectations?
year, this year,
Yeah,
honestly, it may be very unpopular, but I think Cooper Flag is very good. And if you ask me if there's a better way to make this team better than without drafting Cooper Flag, I would be for it. But I don't know of a better way this team will become the next level without drafting a player like Cooper Flag. Or I haven't really paid attention to draft, but I know Cooper Flag's the real deal, and I know there's some other names. I don't think there's a free agent or a trade out there, and otherwise, they just will have to surprise me.
yeah.
And I know that's we another season losing, and you roll the dice. The Pistons fall to 5 so many times, so there's no good way to say it. I'm just saying that I've made my peace, where like I'll be. If they get Cooper Flag and the draft turns out well, I'll be happy again. Right now, I don't have much expectations of winning records or anything like that. I was thinking many times tonight where like, because there's a certain point where all Pistons fans talk about let's trade for this guy or let's trade everybody. There isn't anybody in the league right now, and it may be just the state of it, that I think the Pistons could trade for that would make them better or would target. I don't think there's anybody right
Yeah.
now, and I don't think there
I
will
think
be
I'm
anytime this season.
I think I'm with you in the sense that they still definitely like so I think Cade is, from what we've seen, at least a number 2 guy on a real playoff team. Like at least.
Mhm.
He's got a lot to do still to get to being a number 1 guy, like quite a bit. But I think he's solidified. Like he's definitely a franchise cornerstone. He's one of your 2 top players. I think Jaden Ivey's showing he can be a part of potentially a top 3 core of players, at least offensively, that could be on a playoff team, a team that can maybe get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think I'm with you. They are still missing that other blue chip type player, and I can
Yeah,
see why
they need
fans.
the best one. Like it's like people were saying a trade for Brandon Ingram, and I'm like,
Mm.
Brandon Ingram's been more injured. He's looking for like a $50 million deal. He's going to be 28 this year, so it's going to go into his early 30s, and that's not going to be a blue chip player. I'm not nothing wrong with Brandon Ingram, but
What
him
about
and
Brandon
Zion.
Ingram's play type? Like, to remove Brandon Ingram's injury history, right? I like just think about Brandon Ingram as the player and like his ceiling.
I don't know. I kind of feel like Brandon Ingram, and this is going to be a real hot take, but I feel like his career is going to go down the way Carmelo Anthony is going to be. I feel that though he has shown flashes of being a good passer, he's not always the most efficient shooter, and he's sort of the archetype of what many post Kevin Durant wings were supposed to be. When Kevin Durant basically made lanky types like him could be superstars, but think I don't think Brandon Ingram's a great 3-point shooter. I think that you can't discount his outlet. I don't always, I don't know. It just like I mean, he was disappointing in the playoffs last year, and I think there are times besides the All Stars years, he's been kind of, I don't see there's much separation between Zach LaVine and Brandon Ingram, and I know a lot of Pistons fans don't want Zach LaVine.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair for sure. with tonight's game, what were some of your main takeaways? I know you said there was some stuff
Jaden
that,
Ivey was great. I'll say
yeah,
that off front. Jaden Ivey's great, and Isaiah Stewart's great. I wish Isaiah shot them threes. There was like one moment I don't where Isaiah. It looked like he had the chance, but I
yeah,
forget how quick Isaiah's trigger is. He's not really a pull up guy, and I saw that quote from JB before the game where he said, like Jack, you might have posted the quote or said it like basically that he's going to get Isaiah Stewart more shooting threes, but
yeah.
I take that grain of salt because I'm used to Monty saying a lot of things and promises, and JB
You
has to
can't
basically
put that on
prove his trust. But he has to
JB.
prove. He has to prove. I've gone to a point where like coaches now they have to prove before they say it to me. I just can't go off of
That is
that
fair.
alone. And Isaiah Stewart had a great night, and uh Tobias Harris, we got over it. I commend him for it. I know it was a very tough game, and for him, I didn't even realize he was there for over 5 seasons in Philly, which is a
Yeah,
long time in his 10 years this NBA. And I'm sure that the last few seasons for Tobias were not fun seasons for him.
yeah.
And though he has a lot to improve for the Pistons, and I don't really expect like I don't know. My expectations are a little bit lower on Tobias here this year, but if he could keep that veteran leadership that he seems to provide by being kind of the guy he is, and I think he's a really good guy, and he is invested in that way, that's really the most why you're paying for him. You need someone who's like not playing to hopefully get traded,
Yeah.
which, unfortunately, I'm not saying this is about Boyan versus leader versus, you know, Tobias Harris, but Tobias Harris is not playing to get traded. Boyan was eventually hoping the plan was always that he would be traded at some point. So it's a difference. It's different to have that investment.
For sure. What are your thoughts on the Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren kind of
Oh,
situation Detroit find themselves in, where I've already spoken about it, so just
yeah,
fire away with your thoughts.
yeah. Cody made a lot of great points, and so did you. I was one of the first really critical Drummond peep fans, where I was like, it was not gonna work out. So with Jalen Duren, I even don't even think he's as good as Jalen at Drummond at that age, and I think tonight, I don't know what really happened, what he was going through Jalen Duren's mind when he makes some of those fouls, and just like something I forget who said in the last stream about whether Jalen Duren actually loves the game.
That was Cody again.
Yeah, that's
I'm pretty
Cody.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would go that far in saying that because like I think no one likes losing, but I don't know how you teach the things that Duran understand, but I don't think he's going to lose a starting spot. As much as it might be a good idea, I don't think it's going to happen just because of like the politics of the team and the team players. I don't think he's going to like demote Duran for that.
So
Yeah, I don't think he's going to demote him.
So Derek makes a good point here. And Derek, I brought up your
Yeah.
comment before. I can't wait to get you on the stream. I'm pretty sure that was you DM me on Instagram today. So we'll get you on for sure. But his biggest question is, if Duran's not the center of the future, then who is? And I think this is kind
The
of the issue
trade,
the Pistons have.
the trade, because it's I think I'm one of those people think like, okay, I think I'm very high on Isaiah Stewart, and I don't want him to not cut out his ability to shoot because he could be Nas Reed type, and he has so much going for him. I just think he just needs someone to make his uniqueness, but he is not going to be the center. And this is where I said like, there's no trades. Like I saw someone tweet about DeAndre Ayton. I don't think the Trailblazers is going to trade him. And the contract situation, I don't. It's not going to work out. Just a part of that. But I don't think trade him. There isn't a really, and no team really is going to really want Duran. His contract is coming up this summer, or like he'll not coming up, but like he's going to be due for an extension. Most teams know that, so that's going to hamper the value. He had his, ankle injuries from time to time, and the defense. I I can't. Usually, when I think of a trade, I think of like, okay, who has a player we want and who is willing to take something like Duran, take a package like Duran. I don't think there is a team.
Yeah.
I think the Pistons going to find their center through unconventional means. It might be just some guy who's like, the Pelicans had with Jonas Valanciunas, just some guy who was kind of not, or actually the Grizzlies who also have Jonas Valanciunas, some guy who was overlooked, kind of fills in, or even the Hornets with Plumlee, who we had for a bit, but he started for them. It just might be some guy
And that's
who,
okay, I think. Honestly, that's
yeah,
the one position that, and Carl brought it up there. Like, I think whilst the Pistons have this bit of like they have a bit of a dilemma here, the issue isn't probably finding someone like you mentioned who can fill that spot in the future. It's more the fact like the investment that the previous regime put into that position, whether it was draft capital, free agency money, and to still come out of it and not have a starting big, is a reflection on the Troy Weaver tenure. But I think that's why it's super frustrating because we kind of felt like the center position was to an extent sorted in terms of young talent, but now we kind of find ourselves still at this spot where the team doesn't really have a true anchor. Like Stu's, I love Stu, like you're a Stu fan, like
yeah,
we're all in on him, but I don't think he can be a starting center. He's just too
yeah.
small, no matter what.
Here's the question:
Yeah.
like, if you want to put Duran, you want to be like, hey, Duran, we need you to take defense more seriously and all this stuff like that. Would you take 5 minutes or away from Duran's minutes and give it to Paul Reed right now?
So would I take Duren's minutes away and give him to Paul Reed?
Yeah, where you take some of it, and you can tell me how many minutes you would take, or if you
Oh,
think it's a good idea. Because Paul Reed
yeah.
hasn't played. He can play, unless if there's a reason why he hasn't been playing. I mean, maybe it will be
I mean,
smaller bunches for Duran until he kind of improves on his, defense.
I I think like yeah, I think Paul Reed's here for a reason, and like because I don't think he's your typical third string guy. I think they picked him up off the waivers for like 8 million a season, so maybe there is going to be some incentive to play him. And I think Duran's minutes, yes, I agree with you. I think if he doesn't pick it up defensively, and you're not willing to bring him off the bench, I think there's certainly room to take some minutes away from him until he can show some defensive improvement. I don't know if
Yeah,
that answers
because
your question, but I would
yeah,
give
that's
I'd
exactly
probably
what I was
give them all
asking.
to Stu, but yeah.
I mean, I would give this dude two, but
Yeah.
I think you know Paul Reed's here. It's a good part. I think we haven't seen what Paul Reed can do, and that would help. And for Duran, like Cat scored. I think I don't know if the game's close, but like I think he scored like 35 tonight. He's gonna torch either Stu or Duran on Friday,
Yeah.
and maybe Duran's gonna get some good buckets on Cat because I don't think the Knicks don't have a backup center. Or I think Jericho Sims is on the team, but I don't think he's a great defender, and I don't think Cat's necessarily a good defender. But it doesn't mean that Duran can't having big foul trouble again.
Yeah.
So, and even Stu, will probably the Knicks will be will be a very defensive team. They're going to be a vicious more than tonight. They may not have the chemistry yet, but you know, it just takes a few guys on this our squad just not holding up defensively against one of those guys, and they'll go off.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's gonna like I think the cat matchup is gonna be difficult for all the centers the Pistons have. I think Stu probably has the best shot. But I think if Cat's hitting shots, it's going to be a bit of a long night at the center position. But
Yep,
um, I have Dave Dalton coming up next, Drew. So
sure.
before we wrap it up here, is there any final thoughts on tonight's game, your outlook for the Pistons this
Yeah,
season?
sure, sure. I was wondering, something we haven't talked about. I wanted to talk about Fontecchio a bit. Um,
Totally.
yeah, I brought this up with Wes, and he doesn't necessarily think so. I want to know your thoughts. Fontaine had a surgery this summer on his foot for a left foot contusion. Do you think he's still kind of hurt? Because he's not moving around. I haven't seen Fontecchio hold the ball for more than 5 seconds at a possession. And a lot of him is staying around screening for Cade, which I don't know why. And he has not looked comfortable out there. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering, do you think beyond
Well,
that
was
one
it?
preseason game, he's
I'm pretty sure.
not really
Was it
healthy?
yourself who brought it up in the chat the other day on one of our streams that he's been injured? Because we were talking about Fontecchio maybe after game 2 and the struggles he's had, and then someone said, "Well, remember he had the foot surgery." So I think it's
Yeah.
definitely bothering him. I think he's trying to adjust to his role. Like when he came to the Pistons last season, he started, played like 30 minutes. He could take as many shots as he wanted. There was no kind of, he was really impactful, and we all loved his impact. But I think, yeah, he's probably got a few things going on. Foot injury, probably not the best off season in terms of work.
Yeah, I don't
So
think he's in shape.
yeah,
I don't think he can be in shape, and you might not be able to physically see it, but there are a lot of times like where I saw him and the defender just standing near him, and Cade's not going to throw in the ball. No one's going to throw in the ball, and he doesn't seem like he's going to oh, I'm going to try to run around that screen and get open. He's sort of
yeah,
like, oh, there's nothing I could do. Kelly Oubre is standing 2 feet away from me. I'm just going
yeah.
to I just have to stay put here and just hope I keep him away from Cade.
No, for sure, man. Well, I'm going to bring up Dave here in a minute, Drew, but you are
All right.
welcome back anytime. You've now
Thank
come
you.
up on stage. I appreciate you coming up
Thank you
and
so much, Jack,
joining
and
it.
I appreciate it. I hope we'll come back again.
Absolutely, man. You have a good night.
You too. Good night.
Okay, bye. All right, we have got Dave here. I'm going to bring him up in a moment. I'll let him introduce himself, but I'm sure for you guys on YouTube, you all know who Dave Dalton is, the Pistons fanatic. Going to bring him up now. It looks like he's got his camera potentially the wrong way. Can you hear me, Dave?
Let's see. I don't know how to reverse it.
I saw you had it the right way before.
Yeah. So can I just go back
You're
to my
good.
camera and
You're good. I'll take you off the stage and you have a look at that, and I'll keep talking and I can see your camera. All right, I'll just give Dave some time. I'm going to go through some comments here. I saw some good ones here. Just while Dave sorts out his camera. Where was Derek's question? So, what's your guys' thoughts on Ron Holland this year? I think Ron's just going to be a player that's like a no, yes guy as a rookie. And I think that's a good and a bad thing. There's going to be moments where he surprises you and he's going to finish over. If he had a really nice finish over Kyle Lowry tonight, had like 3 or 4 really good finishes against Miami the other night. But he's also going to have moments where, like tonight, he comes into the game and takes a pull-up mid-range, his first possession, and misses by about 2 meters and air balls. So it's going to be an up and down ride, but I think he's been okay. Like, I think he's a raw player. I think it's going to take him a minute to get acclimated to the NBA game and figure out how to use his athleticism. But he's been fun. I like that JB's kind of taken him out of the game as well when he struggled and hasn't just gifted him 20 minutes. So, yeah, he's going to be an up and down player, I think, this year. But we've got Dave here. I'm going to bring him up now. We've got the camera sorted. Dave, what's going on?
hey, Detroit basketball.
How good? We got a win.
Yes. In the words of the great Rip Hamilton, yes, sir.
So, look, Dave, I'm pretty sure everyone who's in this channel right now, in the chat, they all know who you are. But I remember coming across your channel last year during the losing streak, and I know a lot of people loved hearing you talk them through what was such a horrible time to be a fan. But I know I really enjoyed listening to your show and your positivity and all that kind of thing. So just first of all, feel free to tell the people where they can find you, and just also your relationship with the Pistons franchise and how you became a fan, how long you've been a fan, all of that.
Well, I'm a fan of Piston Jack. I follow you on Twitter, and I steal your stuff all the time. I don't half the time I don't give you credit for it. I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't. I'm technologically challenged, obviously, but like I wouldn't know that Cade shoots 57% in the first three quarters and 22% in the last quarter if it wasn't for Jack. So, but I'm old. I'm 68 years old. I've been a Piston fan since 1967, and I had to listen to them on radio. They were never on TV. I live 4 hours north of Detroit, so I'm really rare. But I was a high school basketball coach for over 40 years. I love basketball, but I've always just loved the Pistons. I went down to Cobo when they were in Cobo and watched Dave Bing and Bob Lanier play and Pistol Pete and those guys, and then I went to the Silverdome and watched. I got to see unbelievable games. I got a 10-game package and saw the Sixers play with Barkley and Dr. J twice, and Michael Jordan's Bulls play twice, and Bird and those guys play, and Magic. I watched, those were the great times. So I was a Piston fan for 20 years before they were any good at all. And so I always say I have this perspective as between being a coach and I see, seeing things over a long haul, and I feel bad for all the people who missed out, like even in the '04 season. And the great thing about the '04 season that people don't always get is that they went to the Eastern Conference Finals 5 or 6 years in a row, and so I appreciated that. People get mad when their team doesn't go make it to the finals. They always want them to make it to the finals and or win it all. Otherwise, they think it's worthless. But I just appreciate that we were relevant, especially now. But I'm excited about this year's team, and I'm excited. I think we had a lot of unfortunate luck in the lottery and unfortunate luck with even some injuries and with some terrible luck with a coach that we had last year and Cade's injury. A lot of things have set us back. And, we just didn't have some of the luck that some of the other teams had where they had trade assets and
Yeah.
lottery luck and everything like that. So I'm encouraged by this team, and the, the guards are phenomenal. And I said on my podcast tonight, a lot of you podcasters were Justin Ivy all summer and all fall, and who do you think is the guy that should be traded out of the core four? Oh, Ivy, we should trade Ivy, and Cade and Ivy can't work, and I never said that, and it was sad the way he played tonight, and because he's a Philly kid, and so he's back to his, where he grew up, and he had such a horrendous game, partially on his own fault, but yeah, I love the Pistons. I don't know why. I love all the Detroit teams, but I just have been infatuated with the Pistons and with the game of basketball my whole life. I sweated bullets the night that we drafted Andre Drummond, your boy Andre Drummond. I was sweating. I wanted him so bad. I mean, he was rumored that people didn't want him because he had a bad motor. That
Yeah.
he plays. And partway big guys, they just look like they're lumbering and lethargic and things like that. But I desperately wanted him. I was so thrilled when we got him. But yeah, and I think that people didn't give him a real fair. The game of basketball evolved right when he was playing. The center became from being real important right when he first maybe entered the league. It still was, and then by the time he got out of the league, it wasn't. But I have the stuff here. This is a Wheaties box full of Wheaties.
Love
It's got the Wheaties in it. It's autographed by Vinny and Isaiah and Dennis Rodman and Lambier,
Wow.
and I got a ball here that's autographed by all the bad boys. That's
This is amazing.
Yeah, I got a lot of good, cool stuff. But yeah, I've had a blast, and I don't understand myself why I love this team. That's the worst team in the league last year,
Well,
and I still
yeah. But see, I think that's the beautiful thing about it. Like lots of people, I think everyone in this chat loves the Pistons, and they probably ask themselves why,
yeah
especially if they haven't seen the success. But I think it's because I don't know. I think there's something with this team. They've been so bad, and it's been a really hard watch at times, and you've had to really dig to find the positives. But I think there's something in that underdog or rising up from the ashes, and like we all know that moment that we feel like they're figuring it out and they're winning some games, it is going to be the best feeling. And
yeah
I honestly think, like you said, a lot of fans, they just want a team to root for that can make the postseason. Like like maybe that's too low of expectations, but I think we all just want a team that we know could be in playoff contention, could win a series, and then go from there. So,
Yeah.
but Dave, I wanted to ask you. So when I first came across your channel, it was probably a year ago, and I remember you talking about Jaden Ivey's jump shot and some of the changes you wanted to see him make. And I think you'd even spoken to someone on the staff
Yeah.
about the mechanics and that kind of thing. I think his 3-point shot, his game overall, like he's been a bright spot, like
Right.
so far this season. But what are you seeing with his jump shot and his game overall that's different maybe from last season
Well,
or his rookie season?
there were times when he's been amazing. The end of his rookie year, he was great, and even when Monty was planning behind Killian, he still shot really well. You know, what I can't explain is how bad he was the last month and a half of the season. There's really no excuse. He had lots of chances, and he was just downright bad. But he's had some stretches where he shot good. But if he just needs he doesn't always extend his arm, his shooting arm. So I was a shooting coach. Some people call me a shot doctor and stuff. But I also watched Cade, and so I know John Beeline, and so I went to one of the Piston practices, and I took some pictures of Cade's shot and his follow through, and Beeline said, "Yeah, I'm going to show." Um, Cade tomorrow, the follow through, but Ivy has the same inconsistencies. But I watch him. I watch every shot. I watch how he extends his arm and holds his follow through. If he holds it high and holds it longer, and he's more consistent when he does. Everybody is when they extend their arm up and hold it. Cade's shot is still flat at times, and Ivy still doesn't always, even on his free throws, extend his arm all the way up and at the elbow. And so that's just things I see, and it's hard. Fred Vinson, I know he's been magical and is considered regarded as the greatest shooting coach. But I worked with a lot of players, and I've had a lot of success, and my teams were among the best 3-point shooting teams in the state history, and they but a lot of people either want to be really good at it and they care and they try. Nobody tries harder than Jaden Ivey. Nobody puts in more time than Jaden Ivey. And so I just was real confident that he would get it. But yeah, he still, sometimes I've seen him not extend all the way, but it does look really good this year. And I still see Cade shoot flat at times. And I know that everybody, I know Beeline said we work on it every day. I said, because it really bothered me. It just bothered me so much that I knew he could shoot, 15% better if he just got, it's just, uh,
Let's get Dave. Dave, we need to get Dave down in
yeah,
the Pistons. What's it
yeah,
called? The Pistons Performance Center. We need to get you
yeah,
down in
yeah,
there.
yeah. So they have the practice facilities at Wayne State where the G League team plays. And I have a granddaughter she's only in 11th grade this year, but she's committed to play at Wayne State. So I'm gonna get to go down there and be in the facility there. So maybe I'll get to work with Kate. But my point was, it's really hard. It's really easy to change, to say and see what they need to change and to tell player, but they have such muscle memory. They had to Beeline said they had to completely try to reprogram Cade's shoulder, because that shoulder needed to get that shoulder up. It was, just hard. And so, and he shot the wrong way for so many years. And so anyway, yeah, I'm excited for Cade. I love Cade. I really, when he was in college, he was one of the most clutch players in college. When he was in the NBA, his rookie year, he
Use clutch.
clutch, and
Yeah.
he there's nothing to say. You don't like to use the word choke, but he feels the pressure. He wants to win the game so bad for the team. He wants to put the team on his back so bad and carry them to a win. That pressure, believe, makes him not play as well, and that's with a lot of people. But I'm very confident that he's going to get past that. And this year, I mean, I have some people that say trade him. I mean, I got people in my chat that saying trade him this year, but yeah, I'm not trading that guy.
I think with someone who's coached teams for a long time, is there something to the fact that potentially Cade hasn't played like the teams he's been on like have lacked the talent to actually be in games on a nightly basis, that maybe he's still now only just starting to get the chance to go through those pressure moments at the
Yeah,
NBA level, that
yes,
we're watching him right now in real time to try and figure it out, because he's never really been in these spots consistently. And yes, it's rough to watch now, but maybe this is just the growing pains and he's going to figure it out. Because like you said, at Oklahoma State, he was clutch. As a rookie, I remember he had some awesome clutch numbers, at least in the first half of the season. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I will say that our team has been really lacking in talent and to make him have any success. And it's really hard to be successful in this league. But he's had such underwhelming talent. I mean, look at even what we had last year. We were playing players, you know, Killian, he's on the Nets. The Nets cut him. They're the worst team in the league. The worst team in
On
the
the
league.
Long Island
Cut,
Nets now.
cut what?
He's on the Long Island Nets now.
Yeah,
The G League team.
he was going to try. And then, oh, who's the guy the Knicks drafted that we had him twice and we traded him twice?
Kevin Knox.
Yeah, yeah. So those guys, we're starting those guys in games,
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
not just who was going to come off our bench. So we had games last year, even when we would be in the game, and then we would lose in the fourth quarter. But our starters, we were starting mediocre starters, and then our bench was even worse. And the spacing thing is a real thing. People talk about it and stuff, and I still think I'm not a fan of Tim Hardaway Jr. If you listen to my podcast, but I mean, it's not nothing. He's not a great defender, and he takes bad shots. He thinks he's one of the best players in the league, and he's not. But he tonight he shot in rhythm. He shot open shots. He shot good shots, and he makes a good percentage. Same Beasley can make tough shots, and Beasley's been even more of a consider. But we've lost these games, and if those guys shoot, if Tobias and Beasley and Hardaway shoot just half of normal what they normally shot, we would have won at least a couple of those games we lost.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's easy. I mean, Hardaway and Tobias were 4 for 18 and 1 for 10 on threes in a game that we were against the Celtics. It was tied with 138 left. And
Yeah.
those guys shot that awful. And then we're worrying about Cade. I don't know. That's just my
No,
thoughts. But
I'm with you. It's frustrating. But what are your thoughts on the game tonight overall? Main takeaways, positives, or even if
yeah,
there's some negatives?
yeah. Well, again, Cade and Ivy were spectacular the first 3 quarters, but and I felt bad for Duran. He just I don't know if it's because he was at home that
I'm
he.
going to ask you about him next, by the way.
Okay, all right, all right. Well, my things about the game tonight is that Hardaway came. Stu was magnificent. I have mixed feelings here and there about Stu. I think his role. He's embraced his role. I heard you talking about him earlier with somebody else tonight. He wants the role that JB's given him. He didn't want to be the 3-point shooter. Last year he was and he had shot 1 3 this year. He caught the ball, he's wide open, nobody's within 20 feet of him. He fakes, somebody kind of steps
Yeah.
towards him, and then I think they ran away from him. Then finally he shot it and he missed. He's 0 for 1. And here's this guy that we were banking on 3-point shooting is going to be his thing and stuff. But JB said, you're an offensive rebounder. You love to, and he loves that. He loves to get down there and push and shove and get down there in the trenches. And so, and I love the way that JB got after him tonight after he shoved Drummond down to the ground. That he does have to control that emotion because he has let it get away from him on multiple occasions throughout his career. And I think he's every coach's dream. I mean, as a coach, I love always the way that he plays. He doesn't have good hands. He can't jump. People can go to the rim. Guards can go to the rim and shoot it over him, and he can't elevate. And he's undersized, and he has bad hands, and there's just a lot of things wrong about him. But his effort and his attitude and the way he loves his teammates. If you go to a practice, he is just everything that a coach wants. All the intangibles he has. But yeah, I love to talk about the Pistons, so that's why I got a podcast. I live in Northern Michigan. I have nobody to talk to about the Pistons, so I started a podcast. I don't know anything about technology, and I just started this podcast because I want to talk about the Pistons. So I ramble and I talk too much and talk too fast, but
You're
and
good.
don't answer your question about the game tonight. But I thought the first 3 quarters, I thought Kate and Ivy, they're definitely, and like all year, they're the backcourt of the future. They're not. They're the backcourt of the present. They are really, really talented for their age. And you see guys that struggle all the time that are young players that, last year, uh, um, Ant Edwards, he missed 19 threes in a row. And last night he was like 7 for 11 on
Yeah.
threes. And then Kadavius Caldwell Pope, he's struggling. He's terrible this year shooting. And you look at Jamal Murray. A lot of guys are inconsistent. Halliburton, I thought, I wanted Halliburton. I was sweating bullets. I wanted him in that draft. A lot of people say they want Halliburton in hindsight. I told everybody I want this guy, and so when the draft starts working its way down and he's still available, I'm freaking out. We're going to get him, and then but he's struggling right now, and he was one of the best players. He was like an MVP candidate the first month and a half or two last year, and so I just see that a lot of guys, it's not an easy league, and we get so hard on these guys that are 22 years old. 22-year-old guys turn the ball over. 22-year-old guys don't play defense the way they should all the time. 22-year-old guys miss shots and stuff, but yeah, I think we got some real good ones. My dream for the team this year is if we could um, finish with the fifth worst record, whatever that was. Everybody wants to make the play-in, but the play-in, the 10th team won 36 last year, and
That's a
what are
huge jump. Yeah.
yes, and is it possible? Sure, it's possible. I mean, we play these tough teams right down to the wire, but I still haven't answered your question about what I thought about the game tonight.
You've answered it. You've done a great job.
I was thrilled that we won, and I said on my podcast tonight I was really nervous because when you know that you should win the game, I think you put, like, even the Miami game, I think we felt like we should win. So that was, like, I think maybe our worst game of the year, but I think we had the pressure of feeling like, yeah, we got to win this one. But if we had lost tonight and then had to play the Knicks, I'm worried that the Nets, they've almost beat people. Did they lose in overtime to Milwaukee? Something like that. They came right down to the wire, and so that's a lot of pressure. And I like I said, I think that the guys down the stretch in the fourth quarters have choked. Again, I don't like using that word. I mean, it sounds so negative, but because of last year, even because we still feel that pressure, that 28 game losing streak, and here we go again, and we got to win. We're right here. We're right here. We got to win, and we got this. We got it. We're up on who were up by 6 points in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes to go. Was that the Celtics, or I can't remember for sure, but we were up.
There's the
We were up
Celtics. By
112.
6. Yeah.
Yeah, 106, and we were tied with a minute 38, and then we just can't finish, and we get some bad breaks and some tough calls, and they missed some open shots. And they said it's a make or miss league, and we got guys that can make shots. The veterans, we thought they were going to make them, and and we barely lose the game, and Beasley goes 1 for 12, and he's a 40% shooter. He's one of 5 guys that have made 200 or more threes, and he shot 43% with Milwaukee last year,
Yeah.
and made over 200. And that's a shooter, and everybody in the gym knows. Everybody in the scouting report, they know, don't let Beasley shoot the three. Don't and he still made 43% and made over 200. So yeah, it's fun, and I think it's cool. I hope guys like you that have not got to see them win, got to see. But I still hope that we have the fifth worst record and we get the first or second pick. I'm high with Ace Bailey. He is remarkable, and he's maybe more talent. He takes some bad shots. His shot selection isn't good, but as far as athletic gifts, he's every bit as talented as Cooper Flagg. And obviously, I would right now take Cooper Flagg. Dylan Harper's real good. I watched his dad play. His dad was a freak of nature, and
Yeah, it's Ron Harper's son.
yes,
Yeah,
but Ron Harper was a high flyer for Cleveland. He was unbelievable, and then he tore his knee up really bad, but he played on some of the Bulls championship teams, and he was a dog on defense, and he was a real valuable contributor. But
So, Dave, I wanted to. This is I'm going to bring up Kyle Metz is coming up next. So
okay,
the
yeah,
last thing I wanted to ask you was about Jalen Duran, because you had just outlined you've been a fan for 60 odd years, and you went before even the Bad Boy Pistons. You said the Pistons were very good. You watched that team for 20 years, trying to figure it out, trying to get to a point of contention. So you've seen a few rebuilds in your time and a lot of young players. Where are you at with Jalen Duran? Because I think a lot of fans right now are pretty disappointed with what they have seen 5 games through the season so far.
I don't know until tonight. I don't know what they're watching because I will tell you this: he is not a good defender. And I coached for 40 years, and some players just have the instincts and they know how and the timing and they know when to help. He is making for the first time such a strong effort to be in help. Just watch him. Don't watch. Just watch him on the court when he's off the ball on defense. Don't watch anybody else. Watch where Duran is. He is getting to help. He is jumping up at least in the air to try to alter a shot at times. He blocked 3 shots the other night, I think, and he's making a lot of efforts. But he's 20 years old. He turns the ball over too much, but he's a rebounding freak. He shoots 60%, and he's got gifts that we haven't even seen. And guys get better. Here's the thing: all these great players, the greatest players in NBA history, Giannis, Steph, LeBron, Michael Jordan. Um, a whole bunch of more guys. I can't even think of all of them. They won their first championship when they were 27 years old. They asked Steph Curry, when were you first? He played 3 years of college. When were you first feeling like you could impact winning? And it was after 3 or 4 years. And so all these things, he's going to get better, and he has got all these physical tools. He's big and strong. I think sometimes he tries to be too macho, but when he shoots, he was 7 for 7 the other day and
Yeah.
had a bunch of rebounds. And he can pass, but sometimes he tries to be too cool and tries to force passes, and it's not good when he's
Does,
turning it over for his
can I
usage rate.
ask,
He turns it over way too much. But
does it
thank you for
remind you?
having me on again. I
Oh no,
apologize
we're
for
still going.
rambling.
Hang on, we're still going, Dave.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you a follow up. So, oh no, we've lost Dave. He-
but
oh no, he's back. He's back. He's back. Oh no, we've lost him. I actually wanted to ask Dave a follow up. I'm not sure if he's going to come back. I think he thought I was wrapping it up, but I was trying to ask him a follow up, and I agree, Cody. Dave might be changing my tune just a little bit, but I hope we haven't lost Dave, but we might have. I've dropped Kyle a link, so um, maybe Kyle will be up here in a moment. But yeah, I think it's nice to hear a fresh perspective on. So I'm just reading some of the comments here. It's nice to hear a positive perspective on Jalen Duran, because I think me and Cody have probably been pretty negative talking about JD over the first few games. So, well, I pushed back on some of the stuff about the 8 of 8 shooting and that because I kind of think that's what all those shots are easy to get for him. It's nice to hear some positivity. I'm still waiting for Kyle here. For those in the chat, I'm just scrolling through. If you have any questions or anything like that, moving forward for the team. Oh wait, we got Kyle here. So I think it's safe to say Dave has officially disconnected. So I'm going to bring up Kyle now. Kyle, what's going on, my man? Thank you
What's
for
up,
waiting.
Jack? Dude, my pleasure.
How you feeling, mate? I know we're about an hour and a half removed now from the game. Fire away your thoughts. I'd love to hear all of them.
Yeah, all the adrenaline's gone. Now it's just fumes and good vibes, I guess. Yeah, man. Well, one, it's so good to see you doing this. Takes me back to the home court days. Hopefully, we can fire up a stream here in the future for old time's sake. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it was fun to watch. I have a buddy here in Virginia that's a huge Sixers fan and hates Tobias, and so I've been telling him all week. I was trying to get him to watch the game with me, but I think no Paul George, no Embiid. He wasn't super motivated, and he just had a little girl, so he's busy being a dad now. But all that being said, I definitely sent him a nice little screenshot of Tobias' stat line. So, feeling pretty good about that.
Absolutely. Well, it was 18 points, 14 boards in the end. I know he didn't hit a three, but yeah, no, it was good to see him get going there in the second half because that first half, man, he was struggling big time.
Yeah.
But I mean, is the Philly hate for Tobias? Because is it purely based on the contract he had compared to the output he gave in the playoffs. It's pretty. That's what it is, isn't it?
It's a lot of that. And Philly fans are just delusional. Like they, they boo their own team with regularity. So they just, it's misplaced anger because, to be honest, Embiid has never made it past the second round of the playoffs. So I don't know why they're all mad about Tobias. Like, Embiid. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic for another time. But yeah, I think they didn't think he rebounds a lot. Like they didn't in their mind didn't give a lot of effort. And he's a classic. Like he'll average, 18 points a game for the last 6 years, but he'll do that by scoring 25 one night and then 4 the next, right? That's kind of his MO. And the reality is that's fine. Like you're seeing it, like they're defending him like he can shoot, even though he hasn't shot well. So that's the thing. Like, and we'll talk about this with Ivy a little bit. Like he doesn't actually need to be a great shooter. People need to respect that he's going to shoot it enough that they're going to have to cover it,
Absolutely. And that was the thing with THJ and Beasley as well. Like you obviously want all three of them to get going at once in a game. That would be really nice. But the one thing all three of them bring is that gravity you're talking about where teams have to defend them. And so that still as a baseline is so nice to have on the floor. And I think that has helped Cade and Ivy 100%. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on Jaden Ivey. So I feel like when we were doing the home court days, he was just a rookie. We'd just done a few games of his rookie season. So from where he was then to where he is now has been an up and down ride. But yeah, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, I love the way he plays. And I'll admit, I've definitely been in the you might have to trade him camp. Not because I don't like his game, more just because at some point, there's too many mouths to feed. So now, all that being said, I think he might be pushing for arguably the best player on the team. Like,
I love it. That's a hot take, but I don't think it's crazy. But
yeah,
I think
it's definitely
push back, but I love it.
Yeah, and he's not there yet. Like Cade is still the alpha. Cade is still the guy, and people are game planning for him. So Ivy's doing everything you can ask for him. He's opportunistic. I think him being the leading scorer is not surprising. I said that in the DBB article when we did our preview for the season. I said that I think he'll probably end up being the second leading scorer, but it would not surprise me if he's the leading scorer, because if Cade is the facilitator and he's taking advantage of teams blitzing Cade, like he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's hitting shots. His defensive effort was incredible tonight. Like he clamped Maxey, like Cody was saying, like he was in front of him, that bogus 3-second in the key without that possession. He had him clamped the entire way. He was trapped in the key and they bailed him out. That stupid call with 2 seconds left on the shot clock. But I think his effort, has been everything you'd want. And so hopefully, we're starting to see that translate into success. We've seen this before though, right? Where Ivy will go 40, 50% for a month shooting from the 3. And then all of a sudden he shoots 18% the next month. Right. So I'm interested to see can it be consistent enough? Can he continue hitting the corner threes at a 40% clip where teams have to close out on him and respect it? And then if they have to do that, bro, he's already in the 94th percentile last year in terms of they were on the Pistons Pulse. They were talking about this. He was in the 94th percentile and finishing at the rim in terms of drawing fouls and the number and the percentage of his shots that get fouled on. And that's up 7% from last year. So he was getting fouled on 13% of his shots, and now it's up to 20 before tonight, obviously. But so I'm just saying, all that being said, he's doing what he's supposed to do. You can't ask for more. I hope he doesn't get traded. Believe me, I hope it works. Yeah. It's just really hard to have both your guys be guards. They ran into this with Tatum and Brown, right? If your two best players are the same somewhat position, then you can't exploit mismatches in the same way because they're just switching onto the same size defender. So that's where it's you gotta supplement them, and they're staggering them. So that's super helpful.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think what we're seeing from them right now is kind of what we all envisioned draft night. Like when they took Ivy, I think this is, he's going to get a lot better. And he's got to prove, like you said, that he can do this for more than 2 or 3 weeks. But I think the thing that's giving me confidence, like you were specifically talking about the 3-point shot there, but I feel like he had this hot streak last season around the All-Star break where they beat Sacramento. He had 37. Then I think they beat the Trailblazers in Portland and he hit like 8 threes. But I think the thing that's encouraging for me is when he's had these kind of hot streaks before, I haven't seen him just kind of attacking the rim like this and looking so in control. Like he had 3 dunks tonight. Like I think a lot of people, if you don't watch Jaden Ivey prior to this season, you would think he has one of those dunks every night, but he just hasn't. Like he will obviously on a fast break, but he had like a couple of dunks. Obviously the one was on the fast break, but that dunk he had in traffic, like I have not really seen that from JI. Like he's had a couple of posters, but he just looks stronger, somehow more explosive and just more in control. And I think that's what's giving me confidence that this is real, like the footwork, the dribbling, not to get too into it, but that's just the kind of things I'm seeing where I'm like, oh, wow, this is like, I don't think he's the level of athlete Russell Westbrook is, but like, I can see why people draw those comparisons because it's like, he looks scary, explosive sometimes, and he seems to be figuring out how to use it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he's bulked up. He was noticeably looks bigger this season, and I think he's learning the pace. I know Cody mentioned this too, like the stop and go. I think it was Cody that mentioned this, but being able to stop and go and change gears. He's starting to really figure that out. I disagreed a little bit with the jump stop and the kicking. Like, again, he's getting fouled on 20% of his shots.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing exactly because he's getting those calls. Most of the time, he's getting those calls. Tonight, again, it didn't go that way because they're in Philly and the whole team is foul merchants. And for some reason, they thought the Pistons were the ones doing that. And, it is what it is. But yeah, he's one of the foul merchants on the team for us. And so I think him throwing his body around as much as he can is the way to go.
I want to bring up this. This is more of a statement, but how are you feeling about JB Bickerstaff and the new? Well, there's some remaining assistants, or at least Jarrett Jack. But how are you feeling about this kind of new coaching staff so far?
I think the jury's still out. I'm still nervous about the offense because the offense stagnates a decent amount. And yeah, there's a little bit of a concern with like Stu not feeling confident to take those threes. I don't know if it's Stu like trying to reestablish himself as in the paint and kind of conflating, hey, you're a center now with don't take threes. Like I don't know what it is or if it's JB's system. I think so far guys are buying in defensively. There's still confusion. You can tell they're still learning it. I was a little confused with some of the like, or maybe confused or concerned. And I saw it third hand, fourth hand on Twitter about the like, no chains, no jewelry, no like that kind of stuff. And I don't know if that was a hoax. But I was like, that kind of sounds like Matt Patricia level, like weird, like old school for the sake of being old school. And I'm like, hopefully that might grow old quick, right?
Yeah.
So if that's all true, that's a little concerning. But yeah, I think so far he's got the guys bought in. But the team also kind of started that way the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
The last 2 years, maybe the last 3 years, they started out hot and it was fun. And it took about 3 games for us to be like, never mind. Right. So this is different, so jury's still out.
It's a very fair call. And I think there's 2 ways. Like, I agree with you. Like, I think they seem more bought in. The vibes are definitely better, but they were hard to be worse than like last year. So last season, probably this time, the Pistons after 5 games were 2-3. We were all feeling good, like even if they just come off 2 losses. So there's still a lot to play out here. I was gonna where do you want to go next? I've spoken a lot about each player, but I know you're a big Cade fan. What are your thoughts on his play so far? I'm pretty sure your dog's named after Cade.
Yes. Yeah. We Unfortunately, we had to give that dog up when we moved.
Okay.
So don't come after me if you're a big dog fan. We put him in a great home with some friends. He's doing way better than he could have. We were traveling overseas, so there's a whole thing with that. But so I do love Cade. He's having to take over so early in the third. Like those games where they're down 20, they have no chance but to put him in. And so by the time the fourth comes around, it's not surprising that he's not got all the things left in the tank. I'm a kind of a guy that's the points count no matter what quarter they come in. Right. Yeah. So like the idea of being clutch, yeah, that makes for good storylines. And yes, there's an element of the greats really do elevate when it really matters. And we've seen Cade make some poor decisions when those things happen. So I'm not letting him off the hook by any means. But it's also to be expected. Like in some ways, it is a little discouraging. And I said this on Twitter, and I got roasted for it, but I'll say it again just for the sake of transparency. Like I wondered from the moment they drafted him if he's the guy that's going to get us there, or if he's the guy with the trade to get assets to get there.
Yeah.
And people took that about being about Cade. It really isn't about Cade at all. Like I think Cade still has all NBA potential. Like if he puts it together and he's playing good defense, and it's just a reality of like this Pistons had negative assets, and they still do at this point. Look at all the other teams. They all had a superstar they traded away for draft picks to start their rebuild. Like name one other rebuild that started with zero. And I don't know one that you can, maybe the Grizzlies, but even then they had Connolly and
Ned Marc Gasol.
Right?
First for them. I'm pretty sure they would.
And so like, and maybe there's others and I'm just forgetting, but like so that was kind of my.
Yeah, the Pistons got they bought out Blake, like that was a buyout, and then Andre they got Brandon Knight, they got John Henson, and maybe a second,
like a fake second. Yeah,
yeah, like they got nothing for their two max players, and most teams get multiple firsts and some former player. So
right,
and I'm not saying Drummond and Blake weren't worth anything. This isn't saying they were bad. Like that's just the state of just the facts. So
right. So basically, almost since 2004 ish, right? When they got that to draft Darko. Okay, like when was the last time the Pistons had like plus assets, like more than one pick that wasn't their own? And I think Troy technically had one or was able to deal for one to get Sadiq, but then traded one to get Stu, right? So like.
This is a great point here, by the way. I was going to bring it up, but this, missing on pick after pick and then giving up like KC. I guess KCP left. He didn't want the 5 years, 80 mil, went to the Lakers. Right. But like, I think the only first round picks I can think they've signed is like Drummond, which we saw how that played out, not in the Pistons' favor.
And they had to, basically.
And then Stu, I think, was the next one after Drummond. And then I think obviously Cade.
Yeah.
And that's in the span of like 12 years.
Yeah, and so, and even when they were, I think Tayshaun was a good draft pick, and I could, I was young, so that's how I became a Pistons fan. Was I started growing into my sports fandom in the early 2000s. So like my favorite teams for a while were the Tennessee Titans because they went to the Super Bowl '99, the Pistons, and then I was in Toledo, so I was all the Detroit sports, the Tigers, all that stuff. So that was kind of how I landed. With this, for better or worse. So I at least got to remember experience. I remember sitting in the UP watching them lose to the Spurs in the finals the next year and just being devastated. My family's out at the bonfire. I'm like, it's like, watching Robert Horry get left open.
That's 05,
Yeah. But yeah, and then this whatever 6 straight conference finals, whatever it was. And then I took a break, honestly, after they traded for Allen Iverson. I stopped watching the NBA for a while, followed college basketball. I say this and I came back around 2015, 2016 with the Warriors, honestly got me back into it. But then I started following the Pistons at the same time around then when Draymond, because I was a Michigan State fan. So watching Draymond and the Warriors, so, so anyway, I say that to say there's been many years of poor asset management. They haven't really done anything with it. They haven't had positive assets. So bringing this back to the original question about Cade, I think it's just like if Cade can be a guy, are they going to be able to put other guys around him? And we're already starting to see like where we're at in the timeline. He's already got his extension, which means we have basically this summer to like maximize the spending. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of trying to find some other guys on rookie contracts to supplement the team.
You bring this up. This is probably a conversation you would say for probably around the trade deadline or later in this season, but it's kind of the reality is Jaden Ivey's his growth is encouraging, but I think I was saying to base Pistons before, they still don't have. They've got Cade. Ivey's proving to maybe be a top 3 player on a winning team, but who's either the number 1 or number 1B with Cade? Like, so like, and that's why we look to Cooper Flag. But that's, if that happens, amazing. But like you said, the lack of assets it's still a problem for this team. And we're like, we all want like the 28 to 32 win season. Obviously, playoffs this year would be incredible, but I don't think that's going to happen. Like, what is the next step? And that's where that element of like Cade, is he the trade chip or is he the guy? And it's even more prevalent now, I feel like, with Trajan Langdon at the helm, as it's the Trajan didn't draft Cade. Obviously, he signed him to an extension, so there's an investment. But it's all very interesting conversation. Even if the Pistons hit that 30 win mark, it's still a huge thing that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, a consolidation trade has to happen.
Yeah,
you cannot go into this summer with 2 guys that need extensions, and like basically making them untradeable if you don't sign them. Now, if you can get them on good deals, maybe they do that. It is what it is, and we're not going to spend a lot of time doing this because I want to celebrate the win. But I'm the salary cap guy. You guys know this, so that's partly why this is coming up. This is the stuff
I'm
that I
asking
think
you
about.
all these questions. Talking about.
Yeah, I think there's and that's the other thing with other stuff. There's already too many young guys, so you have to consolidate somehow. And so you're just hoping you can stay flexible enough to take advantage, right? And you hope that you keep these guys' value high enough that if you have to flip 2 of them and whatever draft picks you can when Giannis becomes available, whatever, right? Like you just hope that you can compete with. You hope the Spurs and the Thunder and the Rockets have already spent all their draft picks, so there's no one left to trade for. Like we're not going to compete with those either. So
I know it's like before the Pistons even get into those like conversations, like they need the assets and they need to actually show like some star. Like I know star players don't make the trades, but like the Pistons have got to show they've actually got some competency. But
yeah.
Look, we're going to have you on here a ton, Carl, to talk about the offseason. You're going to be my go-to salary guy. You're the salary cap guru in the Pistons community. But thoughts on tonight's game? Is it like some more positive stuff? Not that we'll be then, but
no, for sure.
I'd love to hear some of your favorite moments from the game and key takeaways.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I think a lot of just when there was a stretch where Ivey just took over.
Yeah.
On both ends, he was playing lights out, and he just wasn't going to be denied. There was that sequence where he I think he drove, like got fouled, missed a free throw. They got the ball back, scored again. Like that was one, and there was a couple of drives like that where it's like he, like on both ends, like just really took over. So that was fun to watch. And yeah, I think Stu is so funny because. You watch him and you're like, why does this work? Like, it doesn't look like you're doing anything. And then you go and you look like, I know what you're saying. It doesn't look like the normal rim defender, right? He doesn't get a lot of blocks necessarily, although he had 3 tonight, I think, or something like that. But he's one of the best rim protectors in the league. Like in terms of advanced stats, he's like top 7.
Yeah.
In terms of like rim field. Like defense percentage, whatever, my brain,
I know what you're talking about.
And that's not just this year. That's like consistently.
I remember writing DBB articles back after his rookie season using those numbers. And I think no one thinks he's a starting center anymore, but I think you can still say he's one of the better rim protectors in the league, one of the best off the bench for sure.
Yeah, and so I think the reality is whether it looks good or not, he's deterring shots at the rim.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that people aren't afraid to take them, right? Like I saw someone say that earlier. Like, yeah, they may be willing to test him, but that's at their own peril, right? Most of the time, like
Yeah.
he's gonna affect the shot. And the difference is, can he have a guy on his back that can help him rebound when he's defending? Too often is he having to, play the defender, and then he's also have to try to turn around and try to get the rebound. And that's also why you see a lot of the fouls on his end is like him just trying to, create space. And he's not the most athletic guy. He's not a plotter, and he's not got a bad second jump, but like he can do it. But it's definitely, when he starts playing with a SAR, for example, like, come on, like that's going to be like potentially incredible because he's one of the best rebounders for his position already in the league.
Yeah. I like this from Scenic. They're afraid of driving into BSU because they'll get clobbered.
No, it's because they're running into a brick wall. Like
Yeah.
even if he doesn't hit them, like, do you want to go face first into that chest? I wouldn't. Like, break a jaw.
I like how you described it as funny though, because he's such like the way he plays both ends. Like he looks his best when he's like guarding like guards. Is when he looks his most fluid. Like he had some really good stops on Tyrese Maxey in that first half where I was like, I think I tweeted it out, like he's defending Tyrese Maxey better than anyone on this team. And like it was, yeah, he's a funny player in that sense. Like he's a guy that you maybe sometimes have to look at the advanced numbers. And I know some people hate that, but when you go and look at them, like his on-off rating, I think I've spoken about it like 10 times now, but his on-off rating is insane defensively. And as you mentioned with these numbers, it's not just this season. It's consistently, he's always amongst the top net rated players on this team. So I know some fans don't like the way his game looks. I know his game is sometimes hard to watch. And in the past, when he's tried to take things off the dribble, it's frustrating. But, I think it was him and Ivy and Cade probably just underneath those two tonight that shone to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, I said this in the chat, but like, I do think they need to improve how they use him because his hands aren't good.
Yeah.
He's got ham hands for sure. So like you need to let him pick and pop more. You got to vary it. And I think right now they're just trying to get him in a rhythm with the rolling because the system is the system. And when you're still installing a new system, you're probably trying to get those guys to do more of the same thing. So guys get used to the actions rather than having it varied depending on skill set, which is I don't think it's a good way to do it, but I could see that being what's happening. So yeah, I think that it'll be interesting to see how that progresses over the course of the next few games. Does he have more green light to shoot on those pops just to create more space? Yeah. And I think it was fun to watch. I mean, it's fun to get a win. Obviously they're missing Paul George and Embiid, which thank God, honestly, like, I don't even care that it makes it easier to win. Like, I hate watching Joel Embiid. He's the worst. Like, games are not fun to watch. Like, I don't get it with him. And so I'm just glad we didn't have to watch that crap.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I didn't care who was playing tonight for either team. Even if Tyrese Maxey, like, I just wanted a win because I think this win means more than just the first win of the season. It shakes off the bad vibes of last season and not being able to win at all. But I think this just gives them confidence that what they've shown in the first few games, the positive stuff they've done there is validated to an extent now. Like, whereas prior it was hard to validate. Like, obviously, if you watch this team every game, there's signs this season. They're different. The offense looks better, even if it's not great. Spacing's better. All that stuff we've spoken about. But just to have a win now and be like, all right, we can build from this. And I think Cody said it really well when he said the season starts now. Like, there's still like 4 or 5 tough games coming up across the next week and a half, but the season starts now and the vibes are high. You can, like, JB's got his first win. It's nice. It's a good feeling. And I'm excited to just watch this game back tonight watch the replay with some dinner because it's only for me 2 p.m. I think in the afternoon. So sorry if that didn't make much sense, but for me it's 2:30 in the afternoon.
I'm with you, bro.
Because when I'm doing these games now, like I watch as much as I can, but there's a bit going on. So I'm excited just to have a smile on my face tonight and watch this team in the second half. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think what was encouraging too, just to kind of put a bow on tonight's game, or for this question at least, is they didn't play down to the competition.
Yeah.
We so often saw them like just be so lackadaisical. And I just thought like Vets didn't let them do that tonight for sure. And I think, the Vets, I think scored 18 of the 20 points, right? It was like THD and Tobias had like 18 of the 20 points in the fourth quarter or something like that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So the Vets combined tonight for 45 points between the three of them. Like you said, they're 18 in the last quarter is huge or something.
Right. And so I think that, one, that's super helpful, right? You have guys, Tobias signed here. He wasn't traded here. He wanted to be here. So that helps with everything. That helps. They were playing the Sixers, and you could tell the guys wanted him to be the guy to finish it off. Like even at the end, like they tried to get him the 20th point before they decided, okay, we'll just hold the ball and let it be. But like, I just think to see them clobber them, quite frankly, it was like 18-point lead, and then they were just kind of like coasting after that, like in the fourth quarter. Like that's encouraging, right? They did what they're supposed to do against a team that has two of their best players and 80% of their cap sheet not on the team, not playing, right? You beat them by 20. That's what you should do. And so at the very least, that's not something that they would have done last year.
That's actually a great point. I don't think we've spoken enough about that tonight. Like they did what they were meant to do. There was a slow start, but at the end of the day, like you can only play who's in front of you, and they literally beat the team, like talent-wise. Like, they played how they should, and that's in itself should validate the win. Like there shouldn't be anyone saying, oh, they only beat the 76ers without such and such, which whilst that's true, it's like, but they didn't just scrape by and win it in the final seconds because of some bogus call. Like they earned the win. And like you said, they had a 20-point lead, and obviously it got to 10 or 12, but that was garbage time.
Yeah. And didn't they, I think, I could be mistaken because I was kind of in and out a little bit during the game, but I'm pretty sure like once they took the lead, they never gave it back up. Maybe once there was like a lead change, but like
at least in the second half.
Yeah. I think even by like the second quarter or like late into the second quarter, like once they took the lead, there was runs for sure. And it got back within single digits, maybe once or twice. But
You're
I'm
correct.
Pretty sure like.
So I'm looking at the lead tracker on the box score of NBA.com. So the Pistons took the lead just at the start of the second quarter and held it the entire night.
Yeah. And so that's super encouraging.
Yeah.
Right. Like they found a way to weather the runs. When things weren't working, their defense stepped up. So that's what you're supposed to do. Right. Like it wasn't really ever like it was close, but they were in control the whole time. There was never really like they didn't really let it slip. They didn't have to come bring it back. Like,
it's a
NBA's runs. So
no, it's a great point. And I think because Cody and I were talking a little bit about just how 76ers kept coming back. They'd get it back to like 4 points. Pistons get it to 8. And I think just the Pistons fan in us that's so scarred from this team blowing leads, whether it's in the fourth quarter, whatever, we like when we're watching this happen, we just think, oh, wait, there you go. They're going to lose it. But if you're just an objective NBA fan that was for some reason tuning into this game, you would have watched that and maybe felt like the Pistons were in control a lot more. So I think it's a great point from you because, I didn't even realize they took the lead and held it for that long. So that's another huge positive for sure.
Believe me, I was feeling those same things. Like, and then there was a point, I think when they got it to 10 in like the third quarter, the early fourth quarter, when they pushed it to 10, I was like, I had this realization of like, not like, oh, they're going to do it. Cause there's still obviously a chance that, it is what it is. Like, but I had the realization of like, they've had the lead the whole time. They've seen these runs come and go. Like, and I was helping my wife with her fantasy football team. Like at one point, and I'm like looking up, she's trying to make a trade. And I'm looking up like, oh, there was a run and it's 4. And I'm like getting really frustrated. Like, stop talking. I'm trying to watch the game. And I still, still helping her. And then I look up and it's like, oh, they're back up 12 again or whatever. It was like, okay, great.
Did you get the trade done?
Yeah, I think it didn't go through. I think the opponent rejected her offer,
Oh,
but
man.
I
Love
was
it.
helping her out. So she's
Okay.
better at it than I am, to be honest. We do a married couples league every year. She's really good. So
I love it. No, I love, man, like most of the time I'm watching games by myself, but I know that feeling of like if you're watching with someone who's not as invested as you, and it's like when your team's going well, you can be having the conversation. Like you said, you're helping out with the trade, like, but the moment your team starts to not like things don't go their way, it's like, oh, I need to lock in now. It's the funniest thing. I feel like
it's so real.
something men do a lot, but it's
Dude,
so I love hearing that stuff.
marriage advice. Take a deep breath before you ever respond to your wife when you're watching a Pistons game. I had to apologize like 2 or 3 times because there was one time when Stu got the technical. I was trying to go, what just happened? Like, he's gonna get technical for helping Andre up. And she was like showing me pictures of our son. Like, she's like, oh, look at him. And I was like, just wait.
Oh man, it's
I
all
mean,
part of it.
I was like, I'm sorry. I wasn't mad at you. I was mad at the game. Like, just
It's so
classic.
good.
Like,
No, I feel like we all go through that. Like that happens to me with my girlfriend, man. I have to watch sport by myself most of the time for that reason. I'm not like what are you like watching games? Like I'm not someone who really yells or anything. I'm a bit more quiet, but I'm just very tense. Very tense.
I'm pretty vocal.
Yeah.
I mean, we did some home court. We streamed together a little bit. It's a little different because it's on stream, but
my girlfriend stopped over during JI's run with ice cream, and I had to decorate like I was happy about it. We feel you, bro.
Hey, that pause button's real, man. I paused like the first half almost for making dinner and stuff. So
sorry, I cut you off. That just had me laughing.
No, you're good. It's good. It's good. It depends. I think with football, I'm a little more. At least I used to be, especially if my dad's around. It's different. If I'm watching with my brother and my dad, we just yell at the TV. But most of the time, it's just me and my wife, and she's sitting with the dog. And she's doing something else. Like she likes football, but she's not a fan. So it's like it's just different. So especially with the Pistons, like I'll like say stuff under my breath at this point. And I have a like an 8-month-old son, so like I can't be like loud because he's sleeping. So like it's a little different now, and I've calmed down a little bit, but I definitely was a yeller for a long, like super.
Yeah, like the thing with the thing obviously with being a Pistons fan is it is almost like an impossible thought to have a game that you sit down and watch and can just coast through and be at that mellow to happy state. Like it is always like it's always anxiety inducing in the sense of watching sport. Like you never get a calm game. It's always just like expecting the worst.
Or if you get a calm game, it's because they're getting blown out. I'm like, why am I even still watching this?
And that's
sad.
Usually
that's what it's been for the last few years. Yeah. So
man.
But tonight was enjoyable. I got to enjoy some of the game, and I'll probably go back and rewatch it so I can rub it into my buddy's face tomorrow when I see him.
I love it, man. Any other thoughts? I mean, I think the Pistons, actually, I'll ask you this. The Pistons have the Knicks at home on Friday, I believe, for you guys, that time zone. Then they play Brooklyn Sunday in Brooklyn. Then they have the Lakers at home on a back-to-back. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Nets game, they should win that game. But we'll see. It kind of depends on like, can Cade stay in front of Cam Thomas, or are they going to have Ivy do it? So he's a quick guard that could give us, we'll see what happens with that. But honestly, if they don't, let's go. Teach them young.
This was in response to the ice cream one, I think. Everyone knows.
Yeah. I think. Well, never mind. My intrusive thought. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I'm all over the place, but this is
No,
the
you're good.
point of the show, man.
Hey, this is where we're at now. You got the professional opener and you got the goofy closer. That's just where we're at right now. So,
No, you were
Yeah,
talking
no.
about Cam Thomas and the Nets.
yeah, I think that should be a winnable game, but they've been playing well too. So we'll see. I think they get one of those games. Yeah, I think the Knicks are just going to be hard. So unless they're like flat from tonight, which I don't, there's a couple nights now before they play. So I would be surprised if they're not ready for that. Sorry, Cody, I told you we could stream. I just realized I have to work Friday night. So I probably won't be on the stream. Just realized that. We'll see though.
I think
So-
I think the Knicks game's going to be one where the Knicks are horrible and the Pistons win, or the Knicks use that as their game to get right and figure things out. And it's probably could be an ugly one. But
yeah.
the pushback to that would be the Pistons have kind of been in every single game so far and haven't had one of those down games. So maybe I'm wrong, but my gut feel is the Knicks either just come out and are hitting everything and they're just too good, or the Knicks look horrible and can't get their chemistry going. The Pistons sort of capitalize on that. But
Yeah, I think Cody's point about the Knicks being a little discombobulated for sure is a potential advantage. But
yeah.
they also just have too many like guys who can just take over the game on their own. So like in the regular season, you can't really game plan for teams the same way. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I think they have a chance for sure. I think both those games are winnable. I feel a lot better. The Cavs are 5-0, right? So I feel much better about like the compete level. Like, yes, they blew those leads, but we're talking about the Cavs who are 5-0, the Celtics who are dog walking everyone, the Pacers who I think just beat the Celtics tonight, right?
Yeah.
Who went to the Eastern Conference Finals. So like it's been a brutal schedule. And so like we would feel different if they had won one of those for sure. Right.
Yeah.
It would be 2-4. It would be, like whatever that, or 2-3.
What do you think about? Yeah, because I think you're totally right. Like the schedule, it now to just have a win under the belt, it feels like we can kind of now just look back at that and, like we said, take the positives from that. There were some negatives, but how would you feel if the Pistons, like, how are you going to feel? Sorry, should I say, if the Pistons are 2-6 or 2-5 after the Nets game?
2-5 going into the Lakers game.
Yeah.
I think you just have to be okay with it. Like what else? Like it would be nice to have 3 wins. I think I'd be ecstatic at this point if they have 3 wins. But if they pull out one of the Nets games and the Knicks games, like I think that's all you can ask for at this point, right? Because there's still a lot of turnovers, and there's a decent number of those tonight that I thought a lot of them were more chemistry issues than carelessness, which was nice to see. Yeah. Some was like, for the love of God, when Stu's posting up a guard, like how did he get stripped 3 times in a row? Like, let's stop throwing it low to him with like, or having to bring the ball down just so what's his face, big butt, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Kyle Lowry. Like, like maybe stop throwing it to him, like, I don't know. But most of the time it was like good defense or chemistry issues rather than just careless dribbling into traffic, which was encouraging to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been fun, Carl. I'm gonna ask you one more thing before we get out of here, because I don't think anyone else is coming up tonight. But what is your one? Is there a trade you could see this team doing at the now or before the deadline, or if you don't think there's one this season in the off season? But I'm mainly looking in this season.
One that I can see them doing, or one that I would like to see them do.
Honestly, take it whichever way you like.
Okay.
Because I know you're the salary cap guy. You're always putting out photos of potential trades from the trade machine. So I know you're always got sort of an eye on this stuff.
Yeah. It's been slow recently because there's still some things that are kind of like waiting. Like Brandon Ingram still has to go somewhere, probably. Kuminga doesn't look like he's long for the Warriors, excuse me. I think if it's going to be this year, it's probably going to be like they take on someone for and get a few more draft capital. Like it's not going to be a first. That's just not where the league is at right now. Unless it's like the Rockets are trading for KD and they need the space to make it work, and they have all 1,000 first to get rid of anyway. Like, and we get a random swap, right? Like, so I think that's going to be where I more likely see that is positioning themselves, get a little more draft capital and position themselves for the summer. It's not sexy at all. I'm still holding out for the Suns flame out, no pun intended, and Devin Booker demands a trade to Detroit at all. Like, no matter what, just get me there. I think that's the only way we're going to see like the Pistons really push in, where it's like, okay, we can make it happen because he wants to come here, and we have 3 to 4 first round picks we can trade, plus Jaden, plus Jalen Duren, plus Stewart. Like,
can I ask
things you can do?
Yeah, I think Pistons fans will love this conversation about Devin Booker. So who would you be willing? So picks, obviously, 4 to 5 first rounds, probably some swaps in there, like potentially for a guy like Devin Booker. In terms of players, who do you think the Pistons would have to give up? And who would you give up out of these 3? I think if you're trading for Devin Booker, you're not trading Cade. Like, I don't think so. So I think he's off the table. So it's out of Duran, Asar, Ivy, and I guess maybe Ron Holland, but I feel like he's a tier below. Like, I think Duran's a tier below Asar and Ivy, but I think he has more value than Holland. Who do you think the Suns would want? But like, I think the Suns would want Ivy for sure, but do you think the Pistons could do it with just Duran and Asar, or what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, at this point in the season, it would have to be like THJ would have to be involved. You're probably having to send Beef Stew just from the money standpoint, and Jaden. I think that gets it done. If I'm doing my like mental math correctly, plus whatever first you have. So that's a lot to give up. I think you have to hold on to Asar just because from like a position standpoint, like Ivy's that it's got to be around Ivy. And if they want Duran, sure, take him too. Like,
that's where you're at with Duran.
I mean, if it's for Booker,
yeah, no, of course. I
think that's where it's at.
So
So making it less
would be Cade, Booker, and Asar.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you still have Tobias, maybe, right? You still have one of the centers, and then you go whatever. You go sign JaVale McGee and whatever. Or go trade for Walker Kessler. Right. I think that's something where it's like, if you can do like a 3-way swap where the Jazz get, Kuminga and the Pistons get Walker Kessler and the Warriors get Duren or something. I don't know. Like, you just get yourself a rim running center that can play defense. And then you have Stu as your counterpunch that can shoot. Like, when your guards, if your guards are your main point of contact, you don't need your center to be an offensive hub anyway. That's the problem with Duren right now. Is he's good at what he does, but it's not necessary for the team. It doesn't help the team. Yeah. It's not helping the offense flow. You're just trying to figure out who gets the touch this time half the time. So that's where my issue is. So I could see that being helpful. I think if you can somehow get Duren to the Pelicans,
I've been thinking
for assets, and figure out a way to just grab a center, a backup center or something, or like a guy that can step in, or
the Pelicans
say, okay,
are the one team that desperately need a center. Like, I know they've got that backup guy off the bench who had a nice block yesterday, but I don't even know his name. That's bad. But they're the team. But it's like, I wonder if other teams are seeing. I know Jalen Duren's 20 years old, but the age thing comes up a lot with him. But I just, like, for a playoff team, like, I would be interested, like, maybe another team sees him and just sees, maybe I've just watched too much Jalen Duren and I've got my views skewed in the wrong direction now. But Yeah, maybe other teams see him with heaps of potential. Then the box numbers always jump out to you. So the Pelicans are one to watch, I reckon, for JD.
Yeah,
If he
just
gets
because they
that.
don't have anybody. Like that again, it's just they don't have a body, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they have the guard. You know, it's in theory, DeJounte Murray is a good enough defensive guard, right? That's the other thing. People could look at Durant and say, well, he has no guards that are helping him.
Yeah.
Right. Like they can do all the kinds of things, and he's still young. So
No, for sure. I had this Nas Reed one up here. Trade Duran, hope Nas Reed opts out, and which he should offer for 100 mil. What's the Pistons cap sheet look like this summer? Just out of interest. Do you know?
this summer? Yeah, I can pull it real quick.
So I know what's THJ. He's like 15. He comes off the books. Maybe he's like 18.
Right now, where things currently stand, they likely only going to have like 23.7 million in cap room. They can make up to 47 million.
Okay.
In cap room, but
okay.
I would say it's closer to the 23 than it is 47.
Okay. Okay, got you.
So they could do a 4-year 100 mil, but that's the only player they're going to sign. And Nas Reed is just Stewart, but a little better.
I would say he's a lot better offensively than Stu, to be honest. Like his shooting's just way better. I think he moves.
If JB lets him shoot.
I think Nas is more of a 4. I think they wanted Stu to become more of a Nas, but I don't think that's clearly not happened. But your core. I think maybe Arthur was saying that in response to potentially we're talking about getting Booker, getting off guys, but yeah. Nas would be a fun player. I think he would he definitely would help the team. I just
don't see why Nas would sign with the Pistons. Like he can sign for more than that with the Wolves. So of
course. No, absolutely.
And they got rid of Cat so that they could sign him, and Rudy took less money. So I just don't see him being realistic. I would also have loved to see Jared Allen see an ink. I would have loved that. But I think with the Cavs starting the way they do, like they'd have to flame out hard for them to pivot away from him at this point. And Mobley hasn't taken enough steps to like show that he can anchor that team as a 5 for them to be viewing him as expendable at this point. Plus Mitchell really loves him. So like, unless Mitchell gets,
like you were saying, they're 5-0. I think Mobley, haven't looked his past couple of games, but he's been hitting threes. Like I can't see them moving him. Like I would love Jared Allen. Like I wanted him this last offseason if there was any chance of that happening, but I don't think that ever actually became a possibility. Like he's like the ideal version of today's rim running big. Plays within himself, athletic, great shot blocker, good rebounder. Like that is kind of what I think we would all love Jalen Duren to be. But one team to look at, and I'll is for Duren. I think the Lakers could be a really good fit for Duren. True.
Playing next to AD, so he has a defensive 4 that can cover his back, but he's a monster on the offensive glass. Like he rebounds, he can take all the blows that Anthony Davis doesn't want to take, and it lets it could appease him. And he's cheap, right? And the Lakers don't have a lot of flexibility. So could they trade him for their first round pick this year? Or like I think the Pelicans have it, but like they have some picks they could get rid of, or they could like sneak in there and trade Duren and then get like Rui or something, like if they're trying to, So I could see the Lakers being a team that would want Duren, and that has some things that the Lakers or the Pistons could want.
Yeah, I feel like he would go to LA and just become really good.
Yeah, of course he would. Of course he would, because he doesn't have to do the things he's not good at. Like that's the thing. Like right now, we need Duren to do things that he's not good at.
Yeah.
Other teams that are good, they can say, "You go be great in your lavender, do the thing that you do," and that's all it is, right? Like,
I love this, Xavier. This show is literally this goes for as long as the people want it to go. That's a point of fan reacts. This is like. Obviously, we talk about the game that's just been, but like as I've reiterated, like in trying to get across to everyone, like we can literally talk about anything. Like it doesn't have to be just the game and just certain plays from that game. Like we're talking about Devin Booker trades. We're talking about watching games with our partner, wife, friends. With someone, we were talking about ice creams before. Like this show, literally, as long as people want to keep going up on the stage, it'll keep going. So,
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
I work with a Bulls fan and a Sixers fan. Like I'm in Virginia, so there's no Pistons fan, like Dave said.
Yeah,
So like this is when I get to do it. I haven't got to talk to Jack in almost 2 years. So this is bringing me back.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's the thing. Like, obviously, me being in Australia before the past couple of years, I literally had no one to talk to about the Pistons. Like zero. You know, you don't come across Pistons fans at all here. I think there's a lot of us scattered throughout the country, but Australia has a small population, but is quite a large, massive land. So you don't come across many fans. So that's the whole point of this show. Is literally, it's specifically targeted at people, who don't have. Anyone's welcome, but if you don't live in Metro City, Detroit, or around Pistons fans, like this is the place to come and talk. So, yeah. Is there anything else, Kyle? I've absolutely loved having you on, my friend. You're welcome whenever you're not working or whatever. You're very welcome.
Yeah, I think we covered the gambit tonight. Hopefully, I'll be able to come on from time to time. I don't know if this was a wise decision, but it was a fun decision. So. Hopefully my son sleeps till like 7 a.m. instead of 5 today. That'll be great. Otherwise, I'll be feeling it tomorrow.
No, it's been a pleasure, man. Tell the people where they can find you. I know you've got your Twitter handle up here, but you're the Pistons salary cap guru, NBA salary cap guru. Everything about trades. And I can't wait to get you on for when we get close to the off season, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, let the people know.
Yeah, mostly on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, these days. That's where I do a lot of stuff. I'll sometimes contribute at Detroit Bad Boys still. But like I said, just had a son this past year, a little over 8 months old, and started a new job, and where we're traveling a lot in the Middle East now. And so I'm not as active as I used to be, for sure. But you'll still see me around the comments and snarky tweets every once in a while. So, but yeah, my Twitter handle's on here. So come hang out, follow me, or don't. That's fine. I'm just here to have fun. So like the content creation side of me is pretty dead. But for the most part, I'm just anytime we can hang out. So I do stream from time to time on playback on our home court channel, still live. So I did a little bit. So we'll see if I'm going to continue doing that kind of as and it's gonna be random. So follow me. So if you ever want to, if you are in the Pistons diaspora and you're all over the place and you have no one else to watch it with, you can come watch it with us, and I can hook you up with free league pass from that legally. So if that's your speed, come hang out with us.
Go check all of that out, guys. And if Kyle's doing a live stream on playback, go watch it, go support him. And yeah, I can't wait to have you up on here whenever you're available, my friend. It's been a pleasure to catch up. It's been too long, but I'm sure I'm going to be seeing a lot more of you across the next few months. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy some rest and enjoy the win.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you're doing this. This is great. So
Thank you, Carl.
Good to see you creating full time for the Pistons. So
thank you, my man. I appreciate that. We'll talk soon.
Peace.
See you, man. All right, guys. I'm just going to do a quick check of the DMs. Oh, Dave. This is from Dave Dalton. My battery died. Keep up the great work. He's put in some lovely comments here. And he just had some stuff about Jalen Duren. So Dave's phone just died, guys. It was awesome to have him up. I'm going to get him back as soon as we can. But shout out to everyone that joined the show. I'm just going to quickly check Instagram, actually. See if anyone's in my DMs. Okay, I don't think so. Been an absolute pleasure. We're going for 2 hours, 15 minutes. I think this is the longest one so far. It's fitting. We had a win. I'm going to do a quick game review after this, and then I'll have plenty more content coming out about highlights, all that kind of stuff over the next 10 to 12 hours for you guys in the morning or night, wherever you might be. But fun game today. I haven't rewatched the Pistons game in a long time because I tend to not rewatch the losses. But I'm definitely going to rewatch this one tonight. And if you have the time, I recommend you do, because there's plenty of plays tonight that will leave you with a smile on your face and just feeling excited about this team. So enjoy the win, enjoy the night. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all. And as always, go Pistons.